College football talk. Bill King from Nashville Sports Radio, our good friend here on Halftime. Bill, it's SEC tournament time here, and we pretty much feel Arkansas has got their resume set. Are there any teams that you think outside of the top four in the SEC, Auburn, Arkansas, Tennessee, Kentucky, that have a real shot at this? Because, you know, for me this year, it kind of feels like the SEC is a little bit top-heavy.
No, I don't think so. And I think if you bet Kentucky every year, you'd probably win more than you'd lose. So the thing I can't get over is in Tampa. There's no interest in Tampa for the SEC tournament. They did it about 11, 12 years ago, and it was awful. It was absolutely awful. It comes back to Nashville for, 10, 15 years, whatever it is, starting again next year. And that's, why they're, because you're close to the Kentucky fans. They're going to fill the place up. But Tampa's, you might as well put it in Cuba. I mean, there's no interest in Tampa.
Well, I mean, if Florida's fan base is just, they snooze sometimes, and it's not like they're going to come all the way over across the state. You'll have more Kentucky fans there than Florida fans.
Yeah, you will.
It's just a fact.
Guys, let me give you the Florida news you need. We used to take the show to the Final Four, wherever. And one year it was in Atlanta. It's when Florida, under Billy Donovan, was winning back-to-back basketball national championships. So we cover it. We do the show from there. The next morning after their championship, I come on the air, and I'm talking about Florida basketball, and I invite people to call in about it. Not one beep. Crickets. If I came on that same time and said, what's your favorite Tim Tebow moment, I could have done a 12-hour show. That's what Florida thinks about basketball. I'm not kidding. They had no interest in celebrating that at all.
I saw, let's move over to college football here. I saw where Arch Manning has his choices down to 6. I know Texas is on the list, LSU, Ole Miss, not Tennessee. Alabama's on the list too. Do you have any sense of who might be in the lead here for Arch Manning?
I'd say if it was today, I'll give you 3. I don't know if I can go with 1. I'd say Texas, Alabama, Georgia. I don't think he goes to LSU. LSU is a PR thing because they're in New Orleans. It's a nice gesture. I don't see that happening. I don't think he's going to Ole Miss, and there's obviously sympathy there because that's their school. Obviously, you mentioned Tennessee's not even on the list, and I think if he had to pick today, provided there's no bad news, maybe Texas gets it. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't bet you much money on it, but that would be my guess, pure guess right now.
And you've been at the forefront of college football recruiting talk. And in the 90s, like I didn't follow college football recruiting then. I was a fan of the sport, but what do you remember about the recruitment of Peyton Manning and his choice to go to Tennessee? You know, how much of a nuclear bomb that was in the sport?
It was talked about every day, all day. It more so than it is today, frankly. And recruiting was just incredibly popular, just like it is today. But I think it was more, we talked about it more actually on the show, way more. Peyton Manning was the most prepared recruit ever, in my opinion, to know what he wanted. He knew everybody's depth chart. He knew everybody's coaches. He knew who may be leaving by the time he got there, which may be a factor. And we interviewed him several times. He could not have been more professional, could not have been more prepared. And I was told early from insiders that Tennessee felt real good about him. And frankly, I was skeptical. But they kept telling me that, and I was just skeptical. You're talking Archie Manning, you're talking Ole Miss, the pressure. Anyway, so he stands up at that big announcement, says Tennessee. That same day, I had a speaking engagement with the Memphis Quarterback Club. And as you guys know, Memphis is split up into a lot of teams, but Ole Miss is very prominent there.
It's a big one.
And the Ole Miss fans were beyond. It was like a mafia member turning on a family member. That's what that was like. I'm not kidding. It was very personal, and a lot of people divided over it.
And Bill, you're exactly right. I mean, I've heard plenty of stories from Ole Miss people who thought that it was a shoo-in, that it was a lock, that there's no way that the prodigal son would ever do something like that to them. And then it felt like that truly did rip their hearts out. And I bet there could have been a lot less Ole Miss fans if Eli had turned around and done it to him too, right?
Yeah, but Peyton was a much bigger name than Eli. And Eli wasn't a big name. He was a Manning, but he wasn't as big a recruit as Peyton Manning was God. And can you imagine the calls that Archie got when that announcement went down? No telling what was said to him. No telling. I'm telling you guys, that was very personal. And I remember getting in the Ole Miss fans at the speaking engagement. They immediately turned the conversation into, well, he's not as good as his dad, Archie. That's what I know.
It's always that way, isn't it, Bill? As soon as he doesn't go to your school, he's not as good, and we didn't really want him anyways. But one of the schools that is on Arch Manning's list, like you said, that's more of just a politeness of it is LSU. And the Pat Forty story about the IARP, obviously Will Wade's more at the front of it, but it does mention the allegations between basketball and football and everything that went down, just going back to Les Miles. What's kind of the latest on the football front of this IARP investigation?
I don't know that there's a whole lot there that they're going to be worried about. And I don't think that is going to matter to Arch Manning. They were definitely not even going to list LSU if Coach O was there. That's one angle. Mm-hmm. But I think this is more of a basketball thing. You know, Will Wade's from here. Went to high school here. I got to know him when he was at VCU on the Shaka Smart staff when they were having all that success. And this whole thing that dates back to the wiretap and all that is really shocking to me. But it's real, and I don't know that anybody, including LSU fans, can understand how that guy is still coaching at the same school.
I don't understand it, and that's the crazy thing is, how big of a justice is it for if Will Wade eventually is fired for this, even if it is with cause? The fact that we have him on tape saying these things, he has stayed making money, stayed being a head coach, and people have actually gone to jail over this stuff. I mean, how fair is it that Will Wade feels like he's just going to get away with it?
I don't think anybody's got a really good answer for that question because there isn't one. No, I don't know. The audio, I mean, it's one thing. It's not speculation. It's there.
We
all know the meaning of it. Yeah, I don't know. I think it shows you the atmosphere we're in, which is completely different than the atmosphere we used to be in 10 years and prior to that. This would never have stood from about 2005 to the beginning of basketball, the beginning of Naismith putting together a basket.
Mm-hmm. We see Jaden Daniels transferred into LSU. It's a pretty big get for Brian Kelly in a quarterback room that already had Miles Brennan and Garrett Nussmeier competing for the job in spring. Now you add, a guy who's had a little success at Arizona State too, and a veteran. I mean, this is a big get for LSU, isn't it?
They had to have it. Walker Howard, the son of Jamie Howard, fantastic quarterback. Back in the day, for Curly Hallman at LSU, that's his kid, and he's the Johnny Five-Star of the group. But you can't lay that on a true freshman, and they need something to bridge until they get to Walker Howard. Now, Daniels had a really good freshman year, and his stats have really been kind of choppy, average, and in some cases alarming. Now, how much of that is the knuckleheadedness that is Arizona State and the atmosphere and all of that? That might be some of it. Brian Kelly is a really good quarterback evaluator and developer. And look what he did with Jack Cohn. Had a really good year for them. I think this will work out well. Now, he's really hard on the quarterback. He's kind of like Spurrier there in that you can't handle pressure. You don't need to be there. That's the way Spurrier was. But I think this is a really good bridge for them until they get to Walker Howard, who will just be a true freshman.
Got some interesting quarterback battles that might be going on this spring in the SEC, specifically thinking Auburn, Florida, Mississippi, A&M. And in a lot of these cases, you've got a guy who won the job last year, thinking Emory Jones, Haynes King, that have to hold off a transfer and someone who's come into the program. In Florida's case, Jones has to fight off Anthony Richardson. I want to ask about Ole Miss. Luke Altmaier versus Jackson Dart to try to replace Matt Corral after this legendary season with Ole Miss winning 10 games. Do you see either one of those guys getting a leg up on the other?
Altmaier's a good player, which is confusing to me because if you bring a transfer in, Jackson Dart, he's not coming in to maybe play, right? You're not making that move because you just want to find a place to compete. You're pretty sure, or you've had conversations that say you're my guy. So if I'm Luke Altmaier, something's got to give there. I don't know how this is going to play out, but again, if you're Jackson Dart's caliber, if you're his brand, you're not leaving to go sit around somewhere. That's not happening. That one's a little confusing to me.
Let me ask about A&M. I mean, Haynes King won the job last year.
Correct.
Broke his leg first game. We know Calzada, took over. Now he's at Auburn. They bring in Max Johnson from It's like your head is spinning trying to keep track of which quarterback is where. And they got a freshman in Connor Wagman coming in. I mean, King's supposed to be really good. Can he win the job again?
He's a dual threat. When he's right, he is very good. Now, the most talented kid is the one that you mentioned coming in, who's a bona fide 5-star recruit. But I don't know that he's ready today. And Jimbo's also a really good quarterback. Best thing Jimbo does is work with quarterbacks. And I would assume Haynes King is the incumbent for at least the next year. He's a potential pro. And again, he's got we'll see what his speed's like. But beforehand, this kid had difference-making speed out there running around, too. Plus, he's got a live arm. So I would say his experience would win this out initially.
Football might be over this season, but basketball is in full steam for both pros and college hoops. For all the latest odds, totals, player performance props, to where the next fired coach is going to land, BetOnline is the #1 spot for all your sports betting needs. Head over to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Use our promo code BELIEVE to get started. That's promo code BLEAV. And it's not just basketball. BetOnline is your source for hockey, boxing, and UFC odds, right to the Olympic coverage, is the best in the business. From sports right down to your favorite Vegas casino games, BetOnline is your #1 online wagering destination. BetOnline, the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports and play your favorite games. BetOnline, where the game starts.